More changes in one of Latin America's largest economies, as Argentina's President Javier Milei announced plans on Tuesday to fire 70,000 more government workers in the coming months, in one of the clearest signs yet of how the Libertarians' chainsaw-style approach, as he put it, will slash the swollen state budget. Beyond job cuts, he boasted Tuesday at an event that he's frozen public works, cut off funding to provincial governments, and terminated more than 200,000 social welfare programs, which he labeled as corrupt. He says it's part of a strategy to reach a fiscal balance at any cost this year. In an hour-long speech at the IEFA Latam Forum in Buenos Aires Tuesday, Milei referred to the erosion of wages and pension payments by 276% at the current annual rate of inflation. The job cuts are bound to face more pushback from the country's labor unions and could jeopardize his high approval ratings. One union representing government workers went on strike Tuesday, while a government report detailed that private sector workers have suffered the worst one-month wage loss in at least 30 years since Milei took office in December. The leader of the state workers union, ATE, immediately posted on Twitter an announcement of a national strike. He did not provide further details at the time. Milei has cited polls showing that Argentines are more optimistic about the economy's future. A recent indicator of the public confidence in the government rose despite his austerity measures. What does it all mean? For more on that, we go to Buenos Aires and speak with journalist and analyst Hernan Saccomanno. Hernan, bring us up to speed.
So, Milei won the election with the support of Patricia Bullrich and Macri's party. So, when he took office, he formed an unofficial coalition with them. He placed Macristas in key offices, namely Bullrich herself in the Ministry of Security, her former running mate Luis Petri in the Defense Ministry, and Luis Caputo, Macri's close associate, in the Economy Ministry. So Milei's first big measure after he took office was issuing a mega decree on December 20 aimed at deregulating the economy. This mega decree altered or even abolished a lot of laws at once, with a special emphasis on laws that he saw as restricting the economy, like the rent law, for example, or laws that controlled price increases, laws protecting the national industry, labor laws, etc. His second biggest measure was sending a bill to the Congress. Again, this was a mega law, colloquially known as the Bus Law, which intended to modify lots of other existing laws, again with the aim of deregulating the economy. Ultimately, both the mega decree and the mega law were partially rejected by Congress, although there's still no definitive closure to that issue. Milei also devaluated the currency, or at least the official value of it, so it went from roughly 360 pesos a dollar by the end of Alberto Fernandez's rule to roughly 800 pesos. And as of today, the official value of the dollar is around 860 pesos. As for inflation, by the end of February, the yearly inflation rate was at 276%. Last time we talked, it was around 180%. So in only 5 months, it's already increased almost by another 100%. Milei also withdrew public transportation subsidies, for example, which Macri had already withdrawn during his government, and Alberto Fernandez had done nothing to placate the ever-increasing prices. So what we have now is kind of austerity on top of another austerity. He also deregulated price increases in other areas, like for example healthcare services and fuel. As a result of all of this, the cost of living rose dramatically, and poverty increased as well. It was already insanely high by the end of Alberto Fernandez's term, but with Milei it rose from 49% of the population to roughly 60% now, according to the estimates of the Catholic University. On top of that, to carry on his austerity program, Milei is cutting state expenditures he deems superfluous, and for example he closed the National News Agency, the National Television Channel, and is massively laying off public employees in nearly all areas. And on the more ideological area, his agenda includes a close alignment with the US and Israel. Milei's main ambition in life is converting to Judaism, as he has confessed. Support for Ukraine, Zelensky was invited to Milei's inauguration, and sabotaging any links with anything remotely leftist, like for example the governments of Brazil, Colombia and Venezuela. He just generated a diplomatic crisis now with Colombia by calling Petro a terrorist and a murderer. And he's also giving asylum to Venezuelan oppositionists in the Argentinian embassy in Caracas. He also intends to revise what, up until now, had been the official narrative about the military dictatorship of 1976 to 1983. This last aspect is an agenda mostly driven by his vice president, Victoria Villarruel, who is a long-time advocate of whitewashing the dictatorship's crimes as a legitimate fight against terrorism. So in summary, these have been an awful 5 months for the country, and it's gonna get a whole lot worse. But what we have to understand is, number one, the immense popular support that Milei still has, and number two, that he's not a fascist. He's a typical Latin American libertarian. Libertarians in Latin America are typically actually authoritarian far right, not the more principled kind of libertarians you can find in the US, like Ron Paul, for example.
Hernan, thanks. We'll speak with you again soon.
We will keep in touch.
Very good. For KPFK, I'm Don DeBar.